Welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining again. And yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate. We made it past 3,000 subscribers. We're still going, we're still growing. And even though, this is a smaller channel, but it's interesting because this channel started back in 2008. Yeah, I started this channel back in 2008. That's over a decade ago, years ago. And back then, I didn't really know where I was going. I didn't have a sense of really direction or connection with myself or a sense of meaningfulness and purposefulness for what I wanted to do in life and the gifts that we've been given to give back to the world. Didn't really have a good grasp on what it was that I could do to be of service. So I'm just thankful that you're here with us, that you're here on this journey. Thank you for being a part of it. And I asked folks to send in some questions, and you did not disappoint. You sent in a bunch. So we're going to go ahead and munch on these questions, crunch on these questions here. Thanks for sending a whole meal. I appreciate you keeping it real. So first we have AscendingLX. Shout out to Alex. Brother Alex asks, when was the moment you knew you would change your life? So there were many moments. I think as anyone might have many crossroads, many reflections where they are faced with a choice or a different direction. And for me, one of the most significant moments was in Los Angeles, California. I was sitting in a library parking lot, and I just had the thought of just this nagging thought. Like I had just gone hiking with one of my friends. They have this beautiful nature trails in Los Angeles and different places in California. And I was just witnessing the nature, the breathtaking views and vistas and just the mountainous areas in the forest. And I was thinking to myself, why can't I do this all the time? Like, what would life be like if I could just travel whenever I wanted, go hiking whenever I wanted, like enjoy life whenever I wanted, just be like this whenever? Why can't I do that? And then it was like this voice, almost like a thought. I don't know where it came from. To this day, I don't know if it sprouted from within me or from the universe or from my guides, or I don't know where it came from, but the voice just simply said, what are you waiting for? It was like, what are you waiting for permission? Like what's stopping you? Just do it now. Like go now, just do it now. Live that life now. Experience that joy now. Like be that person now. And it was such a slap in the face at the time because I had made so many excuses and give so many reasons as to why I was not living a life that was more fulfilling for me. So that was the moment when I knew it would all change. And that was the moment when I said, I no longer desire to be employed, to work a service job for a company or to be under I want to work for myself and do something that brings not only joy to me, but joy to someone else, And I started to, find out. I was on Google, trying to find out that very day, how can I live a life like that, And I was like, okay, I'm making the choice now. It has to be now. It can't be later. So thank you for asking that, Alex. That's when everything shifted for me. Nabiha, shout out to Prophetess Nabiha. She says, Sabrina asked, when did you stop eating unhealthy stuff? Now, people have different perspectives on what is healthy and unhealthy. I mean, even when I was just going liquid, I wasn't always, drinking things that were the best, right? Or drinking things that were fresh, right? I was going to convenience stores and, drinking orange juice and this juice and that juice from different places. I just wanted to be liquid. But when it comes to the real unhealthy stuff, when it comes to like consuming death, like animal flesh, the moment I stopped was after I watched a documentary called Earthlings. And I talk about this a lot. I've said this in many different videos and interviews, but after I watched that documentary, everything changed. it was like I had to come to grips with the fact that I had been in denial for decades. Like for the majority of my life, I felt like I was living a lie. After I watched that video and saw how the animals have been treated, how we've been treating them, and how many are slaughtered day after day, moment by moment, the slaughter that is happening, even as I speak this, even as you're watching this and listening to this video, how all those lives, millions of lives, just for our enjoyment, for the pleasure, for the taste, sensation of eating animal flesh, which for me, after watching that video, it became so perverse. So I was so confused. It was like an identity crisis. You see things like, I don't know what it's like where you are, but where I am, if somebody sees a dog in somebody's car and the windows are up on a hot day in Texas, they'll call the cops on this person, right? They'll do the same thing, I think, in California. They'll call the police, like, come get this, there's a dog, there's a little dog in the car. It's hot out here. Like, the dog could die. They're worried about the dog, right? But then these people don't realize that millions and millions and millions of animals that are carted off, that are driven to and transported to these slaughterhouses in whatever conditions, they're transported every day. This is standard. That's a standard procedure. Nobody's worried about them. They're going to get killed. They're going to get slaughtered. Nobody's talking about them. So there was a disconnect. It was such a disconnect. And after I watched that, I was like, no more. No more. I couldn't do it anymore. It was like my spirit was no longer in agreement or in alignment with putting that in my body or even contributing to that kind of consumption, to the culture of that consumption. So thanks for asking. Shout out to Alexis. Luce Luna 999 says, what is your favorite juice? I love pineapple juice, blueberry, and green juice. Those are the ones that are my favorite. Wake Up and Flow. Hi, Jerome. How did you transition out of a juice-only diet? How did you lighten it, or what did you do next? Thanks for your time and your videos. Thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you for watching. Transitioning out of the juice only. So there's been different forms of liquid. Living the liquid lifestyle, people would say liquidarian or, different degrees of breatharian or however people put it. The last time I had solids was back in May of 2022. So I've been liquid for these last 2 years. And it's transitioned from, in the beginning, I was having anything liquid. Not anything. Not like tequila and, vodka and all that. I'm talking about, condensed soups, vegetable broth, tomato soup, mushroom soup, different types of kombucha, juice, tea, coconut water. So right now I still do juice, tea, coconut water, and nut milks. So like almond milk, oat milk, and yeah. So those are what I consume now. So it's been like a back and forth, up and down, in and out journey when it comes to liquid. But you get to a point where you feel like, okay, I'm good here. I like this balance. I like this. This feels good. I don't, feel any lack of anything. I'm nourished by everything. This feels good. And then we can just keep going, get a little bit lighter and keep growing, So I do intend to just continue. But at this moment, I'm allowing my body to let me know when it's time. And I feel like that's one of the best ways to be more in that alignment. It's to let the body know when you're no longer in attunement with whatever you made room for in the past. Yoga Girl 33, shout out to Christie. Can you describe your journey to becoming liquidarian? How long were you on raw foods before you transitioned to only liquid? Not long at all. I didn't I didn't have a raw food journey. There wasn't really a vegan journey. I went straight from like, semi-vegetarian and then consuming animal products to liquid. I jumped over the vegan, raw vegan, fruitarian, and just went straight into liquid because that was how dissatisfied I was and how unfulfilled I was at the time and how much I desire to change. They say when you're curious, you learn, but when you're desperate, you discover. So I was desperate to find, like, when I was watching, we're watching Elitam and he's on nothing. He's just literally, he's on air, he's on energy, he's on prana, he's on chi, he's on qigong, he's just moving and everything that we were doing, the miles that we were walking, the exercises, the push-ups, sit-ups, and the resistance training, and then the meditations and the conversations, and then all of the whole day we're with him for days. And it's like, there's no time that he goes like, hey guys, I'll be right back. And he uses the restroom. Never. We don't even see him like sweating, nothing's going into his body. Nothing's coming out of his body. And he's just happy-go-lucky. He's just smiling. He's talking to everybody. And he's got energy for days that just continues. Like an Energizer bunny, just going and going and going on his own energy. And so when you witness that, you ask yourself, what do I really know? And not only what do I know, but what do I even need? So that's what I asked myself. And that was the inspiration for me to just jump. I jumped off the cliff when it comes to that. So yeah, what helped along the way? Well, listening to people who were on their own journey. People on the pranic journey like Elitam, Ray Mayor, Jazz Muhin, Shayna Dean, Christiana El Chayan, all these people, all these people that are sharing. Rocky Chari, one of my mentors as well. Shout out to Rocky, the breatharian yogini. People sharing their journeys definitely helped me on my journey. Because if it wasn't for people documenting their own journey, letting other people know what it was possible for them, it just brings it home. It makes it more relatable. It makes it more down to earth. It feels more doable, feels more possible, feels more probable. It's like it expands your awareness, but it also shows you, hey, if you want to, this is available. So I wanted to become one of those people, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. So listening to breatharian talks definitely helps with the mind reprogramming. I'm having a hard time staying on liquid is why I'm asking. Yeah. So the mind can do a lot with it. The emotions can do a lot with it, because I found I was eating a lot of things due to my emotions, and it wasn't even really my mind. So there's a mixture. Sometimes it's physical. Sometimes it is the parasites that are, pushing and pulling and propelling you to eat this, the things that are detrimental. Sometimes it's your emotions, just riding the waves like a surfer, and how do you cope with that? How do you cope with that when you have cravings? And then sometimes it's the mental, just the idea, the barrier that we put of belief that we cannot go past a certain point, a certain threshold, or that something's not possible for us. That kind of blocks the energy of even making it possible if we believe it's not. So when you just make these small little tweaks, these little adjustments, you uninstall the program, you put that in the recycle bin, you install a new program, you deprogram, you reprogram. Slowly but surely you start to adjust your trajectory, and things that seemed like so hard or so difficult, they get easier and easier, because the mind gets stronger and more adapted to a new way of being. So thanks, Christie. Shout out to Ascend. Brother Dorian says, what was your journey to becoming the Qigong master we see today? So with Qigong, that was definitely Elitam. Elitam, that was when I was introduced to Qigong. I didn't know about working with energy. I didn't know about energy work. Now I see everyone as an energy worker. I see us all working with energy, just in different degrees. And when he was showing us Qigong and allowing us to feel our own energy and allow us to heal with our own energy, that was amazing. I really started to believe. And then the more I started to believe, and just holding my hands up, in each Qigong practice, we're holding our hands up like cactus, right? I felt the sun, and I felt this radiance, and I felt this energy emanating from the sun. And it was like, I was in communication. I was in communication and direct relation to this energy, even with sun gazing. And, all this stuff started to really fill me up in ways that food never did. Food never filled me the way that energy was filling me, the way that these sensations were filling me, the way that meditation was filling me, the way that conversation was filling me. I started to enjoy things in such a euphoric way that it caused me to ask so many questions. So Qigong, that started with Elitom, and then I started doing that practice religiously until I had my first Kundalini experience. That was amazing. That blew me out of the water. Did like one of his videos he posted online. I was just doing it. And 45 minutes later, something switched in my body. Like a light switch came on. And it was electricity up and down my spine, up and down, up and down. It was blissful. It was like I was high on energy all day long. It stayed all day long, that sensation. And I could not tell anyone, I could not put it into words to get anyone to understand what I was feeling. It was your own experience, your own realization. And yeah, it just shows you there's much more. Life has much more in store for you. So when I started teaching people how to do Qigong, that became more of a calling, more of a mission. And that's part of my mission today, is just to encourage this energetic empowerment through the practices of Qigong and fasting, things that could be longer lasting for people. And there was a time where we weren't accustomed to even having this information. People were doing this behind closed doors. You couldn't get in there. You weren't part of the family. You weren't part of the lineage. You wouldn't have access to this. So to just be a part of a movement where people all around the world can have access to things that they might not have ever known. Yeah. That gives me fulfillment. Simon Davis Music, shout out to Simon. He says, can you describe a few things that you tend to do on a day-to-day basis? Also, what is something you're working towards right now? So for working towards, like I was just saying, just spreading this awareness, spreading this knowledge, spreading these teachings, spreading these practices, letting people know that it's available. Not that you should, but that you could, if you wanted to, if you feel called, if you feel something within your soul or within your spirit, and are willing to hear it. That's what I'm working towards, just allowing more people to be able to have this awareness, to let people know, hey, this is something new, something you can do. Can you describe a few things that you tend to do on a day-to-day basis? So on a day-to-day, I meditate, I get up, I do meditation. We do a Qigong session with the people we do a live every day. I'll do reading, I'll do walking. So those are like part of my religion. Now walking definitely is part of my religion. I walk religiously every day, at least 10,000. If I can, 20,000, but in between 10 and 20,000 steps is good for me. And it just gives me another, more fuel, more of a battery pack in your back, So yeah, walking, moving the body, exercising, meditating, sitting and reading as well. Fueling my mind, reprogramming myself to be in such a way that I can inspire someone else. So that's part of my day. Angela says, hello, lovely. Just one question. Can you make a recent video about your liquidation process and how you overcame cravings? What your advice is, the benefits, how you're doing, how you're evolving. Are you water only, fruit juices, or dry? Is it a mixture? So I'm not water only. I don't really like doing water only. I've done coconut water only. That would be the only water I enjoy drinking is coconut water. So out of all the waters, alkaline and spring water and this water and that water, coconut water is my favorite. But if I've done, dry periods or periods where we call the natural state, just nothing going into the body, that has been even better for me than even just water fasting. But the thing is, I don't even call it fasting. Now it's just a lifestyle. So it's a mixture. Some days I'll have juice. Some days, you might have nothing. What is your meditation routine? So I talked about that. Just some meditations I do where I'm just in contemplation, and some meditation I do where I'm actually, I want to change my mind in a new way. So restructure and reprogramming. So I do meditations where I'm listening to affirmations. Those are actually some of my common meditations. Advice for overcoming cravings? Yeah, it can be tough. Sometimes doing things like cleaning, detoxing, hydrocolon therapy, when the colon is swollen, and getting all that gunk out, getting all the plaque out, getting all the parasites, that can do wonders. You can literally feel like you have a new body, like you are a new being entirely. And you find that you don't have the same cravings. You don't have those same energetic cords pulling you this way and that to things that bring you down. There were times in my life where I didn't feel like I would ever be free of certain things. Like, will I ever stop eating this? Like an addict, over and over again. As I kept buying it, and I would watch, the transfer of energy from my wallet to buying this thing to putting it in my body to, to the garbage can, to the toilet, So cutting those energetic cords took time. It took time. They say time is what heals all wounds. So you got to really give yourself time. If it took you an amount of time to get here, then wherever you're going, that's going to take some time. So give yourself grace and give yourself that allowance. Also, what does your hair and feet have to do with it all? Okay, so our feet, right? So the feet have been in the journey when it comes to walking barefoot, walking on mother's belly, as we say, walking on the bare earth, grounding. That has been beautiful energy that we have found when it comes to bringing more into the body, lowering things, and just feeling just more of a sense of thriving, and you connect on a different level. It's spiritual. It really is. But for the common person, it sounds very esoteric. But for other people, it's a natural way of being. Like, how did we ever get away from that? How did we ever be swayed from that? So when it comes to hair, I'm learning more about hair, and my relationship to my hair is totally different. When I was younger, always was shaved, always shaved. I always had like a ball fade. I was going to the barbershop all the time. Then when I was with the monks and nuns, staying with them, learning about meditation, they were all shaved. So even though I didn't put on the robes, I didn't become a monk, but I kept my head shaved for a long time with them too. I kept my clippers on me. And then there was just some point where I thought to myself, what would happen if I just kept growing my hair? And just kept growing it. And just kept growing it and just never stopped. Like, what would happen? Where would it go? What would it look like? What would it be like? So that's the journey I'm on right now. All right. Thank you for your continuous encouragement you give me every day. Thank you. Thank you. Much love. Thank you, Angela. Rakesh Hug 8966 says, congratulations, brother. Love from India. Let your experience reach many more souls who want to be pure, having questions. How to start a pranic life in a city busy schedule when one can't go out in nature, but can do meditation and liquid diet. Right now, 1 time juice, 2 times solid, but sometimes I fast for 20 hours. Okay, how can I proceed further? Om Shanti. So beautiful. Thank you for asking your question. And what you said, that's brilliant, because you said when you can only do meditation and a liquid diet, and you can't always go out. They say when you can't go out, go in. When you cannot go out, go in. So you actually suggested already the things that you can do. Start right where you are with what you have. With whatever you have, start there. And from there, you become more aware. Like the flower opens, it blossoms, it blooms. And the less things you do, you make even more room. So a great thing to start doing is realizing the power of no. So one of my favorite runners, he says, get vitamin N. You need to inject yourself with vitamin N. And the interviewer said, vitamin N, what does N stand for? He said, N is to learn to say no. That's a vitamin. Learn to say no. That can be powerful in this journey. Just learning to say no. Like, I don't want to do this. I'd rather do that. So if you can only do meditation, do meditation. If you can only be on liquid, then be on liquid, and then slowly but surely you start to open up and branch off into other areas. But we all start somewhere. Call 911 for pizza says, funny name. Call 911 for pizza. How important is removing salt from the diet in the grand perspective of the healing process? Good question. Salt was probably the most challenging of anything, of all the things that I ever removed. And my body still has the memory, the body holds memory of the things that we've had. I had so much salty food, so much spicy food, so much food that was saturated in those condiments, the ketchup, the table salt, the pepper, the paprika, the cayenne, and all the seasonings. Like, salt was the hardest thing to ever let go. And I did not know how desensitized I became until I started fasting. That's when I realized just how far I was removed from even the sensation of what I put on my food. It's like, if this was in raw form, it was bland. So it should have gave me a signal. It should have told me something, but I did it for years. So when you remove salt, just try it. Try it for a week. Try removing one thing for a week. Try removing sugar, removing salt, removing this, removing that, and see what happens to your body. Your body is your biggest accountability partner. It'll show you, I remember when I was on juice for a while, and when I went dry for the longest time, I went dry around 2 weeks. When I tried to reintroduce like a tomato soup, just a regular soup that I was, never harmed me before. So I thought, my body bloated immediately started swelling in different areas. My foot swole, my calves are swollen, my ankles are swollen. Everything started blowing up like a balloon. I'm like, what is going on? This never happened before. So my body was showing me that, oh, this is toxic. So removing it, I would say that, test it and find out. Become your own scientist in your own laboratory. Do your own experiments and defer to your notes. Consider the following. Like Bill Nye, the science guy, used to say, consider the following. You'll start to see, if our bodies are made of so much percentage of water, and we know even when you pour salt on certain things, when people are cooking certain things, they put salt on it to suck the water out of it. They put salt on it to take the water out. So what are we doing to our bodies when we put salt in our bodies? What do we think we're doing? I didn't know what I was doing. I was very unconscious. So when you remove that How much more hydrated can you be without all that salt in your body? Thank you for that question. And the last question we have is from Nabiha herself, Pranik B. One more question she asked, can you speak about minimalism? Minimalism, you know, I don't call it minimalism. It's really a way of being for me now. But I remember the first time years ago, before I even knew anything about fasting, one of my good friends, Lamar Sanchez, back in college, he did this thing, this spiritual thing. For him, it was spiritual, where he just wore the same clothing for 7 days in a row. So he did a week where he fasted and wore the same clothes every day for a whole week. And I asked him, why are you doing that? He said, I want to get closer to God. That was his answer. And I always remember that response because it just planted a seed, like, closer to God. He's wearing the same clothes. He's fasting. He's not eating. How is that getting you closer to God? And so that kind of planted a little seed in my mind. And then later on, when I moved to California from Texas, I had a friend named Andrew, and he's been living over 10 years in his Prius. He just lives in his car. He drives all over the US. He sleeps in his car. He works out, he skateboards, and he makes music in his car. His car is like his own mobile studio. And he lives like the Tao, the Tao Te Ching. He knows every verse in that book, and he's the one that showed me that book. And when it came to minimalism, he told me, all these things that you have on all these boxes, in your van that was taking up all the space in my van. He said, take one of those boxes, with all these books, all these clothes, all these video games and movies, put the box in a corner. And if you don't go to that box in 1 month for anything, just give it away. Don't worry about where it's going. Just give it away. And I tried it. And sure enough, he was right. I didn't need it. Minimalism, it's not that you have nothing. It's that nothing has you. That's the difference. It's like all these possessions. Did I have these possessions? Were they in my possession, or was I in theirs? Was I being possessed by the things that I had? And to have these things be lost would make me so sad, right? When I started giving these things away, so much more energy started circulating. So many more synchronicities started opening up. So many doors started opening up. So many people, so many events, everything started to change my whole life when I just looked at everything as energy. I looked at all the stuff that was just collecting dust. I said, this is all just energy. All this stagnant energy, it's not moving. Let me get it moving. Let me sell this, donate that, give that away. And the more that I got it moving, the more I started improving. And now I have everything I need in just one little suitcase that I can roll around, at the airport. And it makes me that much more free, I feel. To not be lugging all that baggage around, to not be carrying all that on my back, to not be worrying about all of that in my mind. Just that philosophy was a beautiful find, But to come from all of that material stuff and to let it go, that would take some time. Yeah. But I will always remember the weight that lifted and the energy that shifted when I sold all my video games, all of them. And the guy told me, how much he would give me for it. And it wasn't even half of what I got all of them for. And I was like, I'll take it, just take them, they're yours. Right. And it was such a weight that just, they say angels have wings, or angels fly because they take themselves lightly. I didn't know how much of the burden all that material stuff was on me until I let it go, till I could finally breathe. Like, what do we need? So thank you for that question. Thank you for all these questions. I hope that you enjoyed this informal session. This was really off the cuff, and yeah, thank you just for being a part of the journey. We're still going, we're still growing. Keep that energy flowing, and we'll see you next time. Much love, my friend. Take care.